Well, y'all, this might be the start to a long weekend and a long video. 4runner's fully locked up and not 100% sure. Pulled all the plugs. One of them doesn't look great, but it won't crank or anything at all. It just shut off. Tried to pop it when I was rolling down a hill. Locked up the rear tire, so it's locked up good. Not great. Not a great 4th of July start. We're gonna figure something out though. Well, y'all, here we are on the tow truck. Less than ideal for sure. Well, y'all, I got it in the shop here. I got the valve cover off. I'm not seeing anything that looks crazy other than the fact that it's very, very sludgy inside, which doesn't reflect the maintenance that I've done to it, so it doesn't really make sense. I've had it for 2 years now and done good maintenance on it. I'm thinking that it just got so sludged up that it blocked the pickup or something and toasted the bottom end. I was able to finally get it knocked free once it cooled off, so I'm gonna do a quick compression test on it and just kind of see where we're at. Either way, this engine's pretty toast, so it's gonna be coming out. Well, y'all, this video might be kind of all over the place because I've just been trying to rack my brain on what I'm going to do with this truck. It's been super stressful and super irritating. I know many of you have gone through this issue probably a handful of times. This isn't my first rodeo dealing with blown up engines. I've had it in my F100, I've had it in a Subaru, I've had it in a few different cars that I've had. So it is what it is, but the question you always have to ask yourself is, what am I going to do? And so that's kind of where I've been trying to diagnose and figure out what's going on. So while I've been trying to figure it all out, I've just been kind of procrastinating, trying to search for different engines and just see what's going on. So the truck's been sitting for about 2 months and it's just stressing me out. I hate to see it sit. I hate pulling out of the driveway and just seeing it sit there. Many of you guys know how that is. It's really demoralizing. So what I gotta do, I got the engine waste out and it's time to just pull this engine out. No matter what's going back in, that one's gotta come out before we can do anything. So let's start working on that. So the first hurdle we're gonna have to deal with is I'm gonna have to drop this thing down and try to get it down at least a foot or so, take the tires off of it. That'll bring the front end down a little bit, give me a little more clearance since I have that giant bumper, which I'm half tempted to just cut off right now to see out of my face. But we're gonna see what we can do by just getting it apart the way that it is. All right, so that should be down enough to where we can work on it for now. I'm gonna have to raise it up a bit so that way we can actually slide this underneath of it. But this gives us a starting point to get to working on it. I should be overlaying some other videos. I did a compression check and some different stuff with it, but you can just see how sludged up just the top end is. I haven't even pulled the oil pan yet. We'll check that all out once we get this thing out of here. There's a few different places you can start on this once you're pulling the engine out. I already pulled the battery out a couple weeks ago because I was using it for another project, but you can start by taking the battery out. You can start taking the exhaust out, the radiator, drain it, get it pulled out, and slowly start working your way along. I'll document as I go, but just give you guys a head start. All right, so I went ahead and got the hood pulled off. Got a little bit of assistance doing that. Next up, we got the battery out. We're gonna start draining the radiator. All right, next I'm gonna pull this harness right here that goes to the air sensor. And then we're gonna get this whole hosing pulled out for the air box. All right, went ahead and pulled the bottom radiator hose, got it drained out. Didn't even get drenched. 2 for 2 on that mess. Got the upper hose pulled off. We're gonna start getting the shroud out of here. Now for me, the bottom of my shroud's been broken or trimmed up, so I can just slide it right out. You might have to remove some pulleys up front to give yourself some clearance. All right, I got my 12mm bolts out, slip the radiator out, got it put off to the side. Let's keep on moving. All right, so I got this 12mm off of the distributor, disconnected all my wires, disconnected this little clip here for the sensor. I pulled off the, what's it called? The coil wire. So now we're good to just slowly pull it out. Might be good to mark it, try to orient yourself for putting it back together later. There we go, distributor's out. All right, so it's a bit of a pain, but I went ahead and got the alternator, or excuse me, the power steering pump pulled off to the side. We're not gonna remove it or disconnect any of the hoses. We're just pulling it off to the side for now so we can get this engine out. All right, so I'm under here getting the computer disconnected. First, just pull off your kick panel over here on the passenger side. You can see our previous owner here did something kind of custom, but I had 2 bolts holding the computer on. Just trying to lay it over a little bit, and then we're gonna get these disconnected. All right, next up, we got the AC compressor pulled out of the way. It's got 4 bolts on it. Slide it up here over to the battery box, get it out of the way. Next thing we're gonna do is start pulling off the throttle cable. We're gonna take these 2 bolts off the bracket, loosen it up, pull it back, and unclip it. All right, so down here, I went ahead and got the alternator plug disconnected. It's got this fancy little plug right here and then a 10mm bolt. I got these 2 heater hoses disconnected. So now this side should be all clear, disconnected. If you have an SR5 with cruise control or different things, you might have other vacuum lines coming across, so just check for those, make sure that everything on this side's disconnected. You might have a ground wire back here. You're gonna have a ground wire that's gonna be back here. Make sure you get that one disconnected too. All right, so now I got it jacked all the way back up so we can climb underneath it, start getting the motor mounts. So I'm gonna put some jack stands under it, and then we'll climb under here, get the starter disconnected, get the power wire disconnected, then get these motor mounts all disconnected. Then we'll go back here and get all the bell housing bolts. Well, y'all, another day out on the 4runner. Got a little bit late on me last night, but that's okay. We still got a ton of progress done, so I'm super happy with that. I had to go run and pick up some tools. I didn't have a 17mm wrench to get back behind here to get the top bell housing bolts. I also got a 3-foot extension so I can get a socket all the way up in there. That's supposed to help too. So hopefully with that, we will get the bell housing bolts out and get this sucker out of here. I already got the whole bottom end, or the motor mounts and everything underneath disconnected, so we should be ready to get moving on getting this thing out. So this is what I was working with yesterday. I had a bunch of extensions on here and it just wasn't working. My gun only had a half a battery. Gun only had a half a battery anyways. So I'm thinking I just wasn't getting good power through all of them. So I went over here and I got some longer wrenches and then I got some longer extensions. So hopefully I'll get good power to get that bolt out. All right, so this was the money right here. 3-foot extension, down 3/8 reducer, my wobble, and then a 17mm. Depending on your suspension situation, you can come up behind here. It's a little hard with the drive shaft in the way. Sneak it all the way up there to that top bell housing bolt. I was able to get both sides that way. Once I broke it free with the 2-foot breaker, then I put the gun on it and just rolled it out of there. All right, so we got it all hooked up. I got it on the front and rear hook. Got everything disconnected, I think. I got it dropped back down. This is not an ideal situation, having the big old Nerf bar sticking out. So we will see how this kind of goes. I'm not happy with this angle, but kind of have to deal with what we got. some wiggling on it. Alright, I have to drain the oil for the first time and see what comes out. Oh, and that is coolant. A lot of coolant. A lot of coolant. And that's oil. Not much oil. Wow. I think we have an idea what happened. Goodness. All right, first look at the clutch. Start getting this thing on the engine stand. Well, actually looks pretty good considering don't know how many miles were on it. Flywheel doesn't look completely toasted, so that's nice. All right, I got it on the stand, fixing to pull. Oil pan off. Fingers crossed. All right, here we go. Lots of sludge. Lots of metal. Yikes. As you can see, that does not look pretty. Lots and lots of sludge. I mean, this is where all my oil went. Not good. You can see a lot of sparkles. Can't even see into the cylinders. So much gunk. Good grief. Here's the oil pan. Very glittery. Oh no, that looks like some sort of guide. If I had to guess. There's a lot of metal. And that, not good. Well, I siphoned out all the oil and I dug through the whole oil pan and got to all of this. This is a magnet. It's not picking anything up. So obviously this is all just plastic, probably my plastic guide that demolished itself. Don't know if that has any correlation to the coolant inside of my engine or the issue that I had. It might just be a coincidence, but definitely we lost the guide in the process. Luckily, there's no metal, so that doesn't mean any other damage. Now there's also a really good possibility that when that plastic guide let go, maybe it was running for quite a while with no plastic guide and the chain ate through the timing cover and got coolant inside of it, because that is a very real possibility as well. Well, y'all, it has been a few days since that last clip. As you can see, this 22RE, it's pretty much junk. Now we can rebuild it. There's a lot of things that we can do. There's stroker kits, all kinds of fun stuff that we can do with that engine. I just don't see spending $2,000 on that engine being any smart decision at all. These 22REs can be very reliable and great engines. However, people are just asking so much money now for these things. And with how much junk is in it, the way that it was seized up, I think this engine's just gonna be toast, and it's really not worth me disassembling it further. So I think I have found the fix for it, and I think you guys are gonna like it, and I think it's gonna be really awesome for this series and this build. So let me show you guys what I got. Here we are. Boom. Can't really see it. 16 valves. What are you doing over there?
I'm just singing the multi-year song.
So this is a 2.4 liter 2RZ, part of the 3RZ family. This is the smaller one, but still gonna be a good 30, 40 horsepower upgrade over that one. Better gas mileage, modern, way more reliable, way better engine. So let's go ahead and get this thing out of the truck and onto the stand, and we will talk about it a little bit more. All right, so we got it over here on the stand. This is a really nice engine. I've already taken the valve cover off. It's only got about 140,000 miles, which is super low miles for these engines. This was an automatic, so it had a torque converter on there. So we'll have to convert this over to manual. It came with a transmission, so I'll be able to use the bell housing off of this. You can see it had a little bit of a valve cover leak, maybe a timing leak up front. So we're gonna reseal this whole thing. I'm gonna have to change the oil pan over. So that's probably gonna do it for this video. But next video, I'm gonna show you guys tearing this thing apart, doing everything that we need to do to get it to where it'll fit inside of our 4runner, involving switching the oil pan. We're gonna do a timing set on it. I want this thing to be running perfect whenever we get it put up in here, so that way we're all set up for the future and put thousands and thousands of miles on this thing. So I'm super excited about that. I think it's gonna be awesome. All the content that we're gonna be able to do on this. Should be a couple video series, doing the whole swap, getting everything going, running. Who knows, might even be putting a turbo on this thing. We'll see. But sorry this video was all over the place, a lot going on, really frustrating video, but I think it's gonna work out for the best. You guys know how it is, your engine goes down like this, it's a stressful, annoying situation nobody wants to go through, but doesn't mean that it has to end badly. It means that we can turn things around for the better and make this thing run better than it ever has before. Appreciate you guys watching, keep living for Jesus.